well to the disgrace that is Victoria. A budget yesterday that has Victoria on track to have debt not only greater than that of New South Wales, Queensland and Tasmania combined, but debt nearly equal to that of all 5 other states, including WA and South Australia. Property investors, private schools, big business, public sector workers, a massive taxing budget. 2 years ago, to save his financial hide, Andrews imposed a mental health levy. Now, a 10-year COVID levy, which will for 10 years remind us and Victorian voters of the financial cost of the pandemic and the incompetence of the Andrews response. 40,000 million of COVID-related spending will now take years to pay, and by then, this mob will be gone to their beach houses and their superannuation, a long way from the financial mess they've created. Shamelessly, the budget projects debt to hit 25% of the state's economy by 2026-27, an eye-watering $171 billion Victorian debt. Don't swallow this garbage about COVID. The government that wants to blame COVID for the mess is the same government that fashioned a draconian and unacceptable response to coronavirus. And such are the dopes running Victoria that they don't even understand that if you impose new taxes and new levies and new charges, well, investment disappears. So the economic crisis worsens. Mums and dads in Victoria with high interest rates who don't own a home, well, those interest rate increases are passed on to tenants. Parents of students in 110 non-government schools will now pay as the government scraps the payroll tax exemption. As I said, net debt, heading towards $171 billion, and no plans to pay back borrowings unrelated to the pandemic. Here's another metaphor of the abandonment of any kind of discipline. This is disgraceful stuff, I'm telling you. Don't start thinking Andrews is some hero. I mean, this bloke is the scourge of responsible management, a disgrace. And here's a metaphor that should apply, the discipline that should apply to the management of finances. When Labor was elected, its public sector wages bill, $19 billion. $19 billion. It'll reach $26 billion this financial year. That's almost up 50%. And by the end of the forward estimates, it'll go to $39.8 billion if you're lucky. $19 billion to $39.8 billion. Just keep employing people, throwing money around. Public sector, see? And here we are back to my persistent argument about energy policy being the national economic suicide note. WA's got a budget surplus only because of the massive royalties from iron ore exports and cheap gas. Victoria has destroyed that, all this green energy crap, or destroyed that deliberately as far as gas and Latrobe Valley brown coal are concerned. So how do you pay off the debt? Queensland and New South Wales are partially in the clear because of their natural resources that all these Labor political blockheads want to demonise. So Bowen and Co and Andrews and their mates and all you other thickheads, do you want Western Australia's future or Victoria's? Because as Terry McCrann says today, and he and I have discussed this for years, here is the text for the nation. Without the gas, the coal, the iron ore and China, we would be a banana monarchy. Now, I've told you over and over again, the National Economic Suicide Note is being written, a fresh chapter yesterday, by a disgraceful Andrews government. Now, I wish I could be the bearer of better news, but struggling renters are now learning that the number of low-cost rentals has almost halved, a record low all time. The number of properties listed for less than $400 a week across Australia, $400, fell to people watching saying, God, where do you get something for $400? But this includes regional Australia and everything, fell to 16.2% this year. That is, of all rentals, only 16%, $400 or less. It's the lowest share on record of sub $400 a week rentals. And if interest rates continue to go up, the increases are then passed on to the renter.